And that wasn't the case, because a battle also is composed of legal battles. So we lost a legal battle, and they utilized a language called legalese, and that's the very same language that they utilize in the court system. It's a language that we created utilizing and manipulating the law. So what they presently use now to offset our reality and push us in a very oppressive situation is actually a science that they inherited from us during the point of our corruption. So this is an excellent DVD on the Moors of Spain, and the young lady who's doing it, this is a BBC special. The young lady who's doing it tells the truth in reference to the Moorish paradigm. So it's very important when you speak about the Moors. What's the name? See? When the Moors ruled Europe.
The victor's version.
Do they,
this is the victor's version.
Do they admit that the Moors are black?
Of course.
They black everything. They come in summer when the heat is almost dry. They put it fine.
The Moorish story is very important when you take everything in consideration.
Conflict is reenacted in towns across Spain.
See?
Every year, this conflict is reenacted in towns across Spain.
Cristianos.
This, the victor's version of history, glamorizes what was actually a dishonorable and dirty war.
When the Christian comes...
Now, very important that we open up and speak about the Moorish paradigm, because literally everything that we have in science, art, mathematics, occultism, all of it derived from the Moorish paradigm. We brought the entire system of spirituality that is presently used in the Western world for occultism and brought it to Spain and taught it to whoever was so honorable enough to sit there and listen. And unfortunately, what happened is what we taught the world is now being utilized against us. So when we speak about Freemasonry, when we speak about occult science, when we speak about Kabbalah, we're speaking about North African spirituality. North African spirituality. This is a historical day event for some people. Some people have never been into a lodge before. So we've heard so much about the Masons, but let's go back to the Moorish paradigm. The Masonry that we have today is actually Moorish science. And we taught the Western world, the Europeans, we taught them Freemasonry because during the feudal period, prior to the Jewish expulsion and prior to 1492, the region was so feudal that we had to keep a check on who was able to go to and fro. So in order for you to move in these feudal times, you had to have certain key words, key phrases, gestures. So all of that was locked into the field of Freemasonry. Now, before I begin the class, I brought a brother up here. A brother named Heru. He's going to speak to us for about 5 minutes and tell us what he's doing, and then we're going to bring another brother up named Sam, and he's going to tell us what they do also. And these brothers are like kind of opening up for us. But what we do here is that we celebrate everybody's cause here. So if anybody has anything to share during our break period or after, because we try to empower each other economically. We have the sister who's from the local region. She has some food here, and the brothers from the lodge are frying some fish because today is Super Bowl Sunday. That's why so many of us in here right now. See how much people is in here, right? I guess everybody else is watching the game. But hopefully people come. So without further ado, the brother Sehu is going to come up and say a few things. And this brother here is a master teacher. And the brother Sam is as well, but I'll let the brother tell you about himself.
All right, greetings. How you doing?
All right.
Good. Thank you. It's a pleasure to always get an opportunity to speak to people about the levels of depth of truth that are oftentimes apparently in our face, but we're not aware of them, or we may have some inkling of knowledge, maybe some passing kind of comment that alludes to something that we feel we should know more about, but it kind of eludes us at the same time. It makes an illusion to us of something to look for that is more, and it seems like there's this chase that we're after. It's often like trying to chase a ball in a pool of water. If you've ever tried that, you know that it constantly moves away from you. But when you turn in upon yourself, and you back up from your pursuit, you pull it to you. And it's just the nature of this kind of stuff that I cover in the work that I do. I do a couple of different things. I'll start with this one. This is a creation of mine, some work. I'm a visual artist. I work in sculpture, mostly wood, but I also do metal and a beginning stone. The work that I do is reminiscent of some of the ancient temples of old where the goddess was worshipped. I am an unapologetic goddess worshiper. I believe that the inner force of the human individual is feminine, and that all human individuals, by nature and by essence, are feminine. So the artwork that I do is reflective of that particular principle, which is, for me, a fact of my living, a fact of how I orient myself, my spiritual practices. I teach a form of yoga that is structured on the principle of feminine divinity, and then particularly from the lunar perspective. But just for a moment, show you some of my artistry. Just last year, I did a fellowship with Ashe Dance and Theater Collective on a piece called The Truth About Medusa. Now, as I said when I opened, there are many things that have been suggested to us that kind of allude to something that we should know more about, yet seem to elude us because the documentation is just usually not there. All of you have probably at some point or time heard that Medusa was actually an African queen from Libya. Well, I did a little deep digging into that for about 3 or 4 years with my research and found not only was this true, but there were aspects of the mythology also that had been buried. That indeed Medusa and Athena actually were one and the same goddess at one point during the period of matriarchy, when the grandmothers were the tutors of the younger women, and there was this understanding that all of the stages of woman, the 3 stages of woman in particularly, virgin, mother, and crone, are actually an expression of 3 archetypes that are in essence one woman. And this archetype of a woman is like the muse of mankind's development, spiritually as well as technologically, and all of the things that we look at as being those things that advance us. So I went about the work of creating this piece and ended up actually running into someone who knew Ashe Dance and Theater Collective, who worked with ritual in dance, and basically they were doing a piece called The Truth About Medusa at the same time that I was doing this sculpture. So we did what any logical people would do. We allied forces, and we came up with a piece called The Truth About Medusa, to which I also wrote a poem that's a part of the performance. The time has come again, and this is really the heart of my work, for us to begin the process of returning the arts, the cultures, which are in essence sciences of theatrical performance. Something as simple as watching someone perform yoga asanas, believe it or not, is as healing for the individual who watches it as for the one who does it and who chants the mantras internally and who does the breathing. You are affected in your atmosphere all the time by the vibes of people. We speak about it. I didn't like the vibes in there. Well, you can literally create your own vibes. There's a way of doing it through the use of your creativity. And the foundation of your creativity, believe it or not, is in the sexual nature itself. Some of my research also is along the lines of the study of sexual alchemy, the use of the yogic disciplines, whether Taoist, Hindi, Western Kabbalah, for the purpose of sublimating the sexual force into a viable force of creativity, and hopefully making this also part and parcel of a pubescent rites of passage program for our young people, because they have so much of that energy and it's so misdirected that things are really getting out of hand. And also to help restore those of us grown folks that missed some things along the way because we missed our birthright, to help restore that stuff. In that regard, I offer this workshop every year to women called A String of Pearls. There's an aspect of it that's also going to be released here this year that's also for the brothers, because it's indeed a science. The science of sexuality is part and parcel of what it takes to build a strong nation. First, you have to build a good quality human being. Then you must begin the development of a system to feed that human being, both physically as well as mentally and spiritually. And then you have to be able to protect it. And so this is the efforts that I put forth every second, third, fourth, and if there are fifth Tuesdays at Food for Thought, Juice Bar and Lounge, on what we call philosophically fat Tuesdays. If you would like to get in contact with Food for Thought to find out more about what we're doing and how, going into my cell phone here,
443
718-443
4160.
4160. All right. Also, I work out of Embora Yoga and Dance Studios. That's also in Brooklyn, Fulton Street. I have my art studio there, and I also teach lunar yoga on Friday evenings there from 10 p.m. to 12:30 a.m.
Why so late?
Well, that's the witching hour. That's the time when the magic kicks off. When most people are either asleep or distracted by their televisions. I'm not so. And so I look for people who also are not so, who are more attracted to looking within and to developing those things within them. In this case, by getting in rapport with the rhythms of the moon. These exercises are designed so that by midsummer, we should be doing a ritual down on the beach using these particular practices, the moon salutations, and also there's a special lunar breathing that's a form of pranayama that I'm also returning back into the circulation of initiates. So I hope to see you out. Thank you so much for the time that you've given me to speak to you, and I'll keep looking for you.
Could you get a number again?
Yes.
718-443-4160.
Go ahead. Next, we're gonna bring the brother Sam up. He's gonna give up. So this brother is one of our master astrologers, and not that astrology from the newspaper, because he writes those too. So when you think you reading something that's Sam wrote it. Okay. So give us some tell us when we can get into our astrology.
Okay.
And where to find you.
So am I on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have some cards. Oh, it fell off. I have some cards from my services, if you can pass those around. I'm going to mic myself here. And I guess Heru and I are representing the short brown brothers from Brooklyn today. We actually met at that same place, Food for Thought, in Bed-Stuy. And we'd like to invite you again. Heru actually is one of our readers there and seers at an event that we call the Zodiac Lounge. The Zodiac Lounge meets on the first and third Friday. Oh, I'm coming off. Maybe I should just hold it like this. Meets on the first and third Friday of every month. We will be there again celebrating Aquarius on the 16th, and I will be giving a presentation and a lecture about Aquarius. And one thing I talk about is that, like Brother Rashid said, and again, thank you for bringing me up here just to open up a little bit, I don't believe in just talking about, the age of Aquarius, everything's going to be peaceful and rosy and lovely. I get to where this really comes from and what the Aquarian age means, not just to the world, but specifically and more particularly to our people. And there's some significant things that are happening in terms of the age of Aquarius that we should know and be informed about. And so I'll be giving a presentation on that. The Zodiac Lounge starts at 7 o'clock. And again, that will be the 16th of this month. And we will have, again, brothers like Sehu there. He won't be there the 16th. He'll be there, I guess, in person, but he won't be doing readings. We'll have other people there doing sessions on that particular date. But you will want to check it out. We have mediums, we have astrologers, we have numerologists, we have massage therapists who are there to provide healing to the community. And then I'll be giving a presentation. Did I mention that we have vegan cake there too? We're going to have vegan cake for free and sparkling cider for free. So do come out. There is no entrance fee. You can see as many readers as we have there for $10 for 10 minutes. And if you want to see them longer, then it's $30 for 40 minutes. So there's some of the best readers. I screen them myself. I have them give me a session. I talk to them about their professionalism. So you're not just getting some fly-by-night jackleg healer or seer. So I invite you. Again, it's at Food for Thought Cafe.
Where's that at?
And it is in Bed-Stuy at Marcus Garvey Boulevard and McDonough. You can take the A train all the way there, get off at Utica. The A or the C? Okay. Well, you mean the Kingston Through. The easiest way is the Utica, because then you can just take the A Express to Utica Avenue. The local get off at Kingston Troop, okay, or Throop. We locally call it Troop. And it is located at Marcus Garvey and McDonough. Okay? We look forward to seeing you there. You have the number, you have my number, and thank you, Brother Rashid.
Yes, sir. Give a brother a warm black hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also in attendance, I have my mother here. She's a herbologist and a healer, and she has some teas. What type of teas do you have? A uterine tea for women. And at the break, we want to support. It's a lot of us here today, so we really want to support our vendors. Sister Unity, she's made some food. My mother has some. The food is excellent. And and my mother has the teas, and I have some DVD selections and some books available. So let's get right into it. Everyone received a folder when you entered the room. I had one of my own, but it fell. And in that packet, we have some material that's going to help us challenge the text. It's very important that on the flyer it said that we were going to, where's the flyer at? It said we were going to chart a new beginning. Does anyone have a flyer on them? Okay. We got the old school flyer. We done stepped it up. We had another one. This is the original. Okay. We will demonstrate how to chart and navigate a course to health, wealth, and prosperity, utilizing the mathematic magic of our ancient Chaldean Kushite ancestors. So now, when you use a term like mathematic and you couple mathematics with magic, essentially what you're saying is that the math that you're dealing with has an influence on the world at large. Now, how do you make mathematics begin to manipulate the realm around you? The way is to transfer mathematics into the medium which governs the physical plane. So this physical plane is governed by waveforms. We're in a wave right now. We're in a vibratory frequency right now. So the way to transfer words into this vibratory frequency, in order for us to utilize and manipulate it, what would essentially we would have to do? We would have to give names and titles to things in order for us to tap into their frequency. So whenever I call you Nicholas, Sehu, Kyle, what I'm saying is I'm also saying your name, but I'm also saying a number. And this number, every time I call you, I elicit an energy from you. So every time I open my mouth and I call you, and you turn around and you respond, what I say has merit. However, in occultism and mathematical parlance, and the best magical personage or the best sorcerer is the best mathematician, because by the utilization of math is a science which makes no mistake. So the magician in this sense can make no mistake if he utilizes a standard, a canon, a system by which to utilize his science. So now the Chaldean science that I offer is under the nomenclature, the title, the term Kabbalah. Now, what was it before it was called Kabbalah? It was called Merkaba mysticism. Before it was termed Kabbalah, Kabbalah is a term that became most prevalent perhaps in the 11th, 12th century with the discovery of a book called the Bahir. Many people try to say the Zohar is the first book. The Zohar is not the first book. The first book is a book called the Bahir. You spell it B-A-H-I-R. It's very important that you take notes. If you hear things that sound like you want to remember them, you need to take notes. And notice I said the word remember. And we're going to talk about memory as well, because there will be no magic without memory. Okay, now the Bahir was discovered in what's called Provence, France. Does this mean that that's where Kabbalah started? Absolutely not. When did the ocean begin? When men began to write about the ocean? No, the ocean was always here. We just termed it the ocean when we had the opportunity to do so. However, the Bahir is poorly composed. This perhaps might be one of the worst books ever written in reference to grammar, how grammar is concerned. Why? Because the person who wrote it was a novice student of the science, but took certain parts to memory and composed it and wrote it and passed it around, and much in the same way we can write something and sit and speak on it and proselytize on it, and then a few hundred years, few centuries later, what happens is it becomes a grand thing. But essentially what the person was writing was a tradition that they perhaps had very little knowledge of. Now, right across from France, right, southern France, right across a big expanse of mountains called the Pyrenees is what? Spain. So what happened was the traditions that were found in the Bahir ventured over there and became written. Now, the people who were in charge of the spiritual system of the healthier ones in France were the Cathars. Now, the Cathars were destroyed in what's called the Albigensian Crusade. Now, the Cathars were like a Gnostic sect of Christians. They used to utilize a lot of meditation rites, a lot of ritual rites where they utilize ablution. There will be no magic without you being clean. You can't approach a magical process without cleansing yourself. And out of the three major world religions, two of them have within their rites the actual science of cleaning oneself. And that's in Judaism. They have big baths called the mikvah, big baths. That's a big ritual where one must submerge himself in the bath. And then the Muslims have the ablution as well. Before each prayer, you have to make what is called wudu. Wudu. Now, it's very interesting that the wudu, before you make the wudu, though, you have to induce into your psyche a mindset where you go into what is considered an underworld. You have to make a dua. Now, we have to concentrate on phonemes. Phonemes are the use of language, the sound rather, because phonemes have more of a relationship than we do historically. History can be matched, and we can put the points together if we chase the phonemes. Now, what does the word dua sound like? The dua, which was the Egyptian what? The underworld. Now, so to make dua was to pray, to induce the mindset. So praying or making supplication is, in a sense, a form of ritual which submerses oneself under the pale of this common reality. So the underworld is it's in a sense an inappropriate term. The underworld should more so be the inner world, because you're stepping in, and then in Merkaba mysticism, they said they are riding in the chariot or riding on the chariot, but the chariot is not going up. See, people usually think that Merkaba mysticism and meditation, you're ascending in some sense, or you're going up. By classification and the utilization of words, we are under the impression that, you know, meditating is going up. Well, you're going in. You're going in. And this is how creation all comes about. It's a contraction. It's a contraction. Now, let's get back to Mathemagic. Has anyone seen the movie Aragon? Aragon. It's a movie about a dragon riders. The movie is another pimp off of our Moorish science, because in the film, the protagonist, every time he shows up to save the day, everyone who greets him says, "I was expecting more." See how they play with words? They said, "I was expecting more." Well, where's Aragon? See, they abuse language. They spelled it wrong. Aragon is in Spain. And the dragon riders are the spiritualists, the Sufi magicians. And the dragon is actually, when they say I think it's in Chinese systems of spirituality, they say that or the Tibetan, they say the dragon riders are those artists. Like the poor artist, the starving artist is the dragon rider. He feeds off of his pursuit of information. So that dragon in the film was also feminine. So here we have the feminine emanation, or everything that manifests is feminine. And in Judaism, in the undercurrents, the hidden part, God's feminine name is the Shekinah, which means the emanation, the eminent one, the Shekinah. Okay, that's something that it's never in the standard books. It's always in the fables, what are called Haggadah. Okay, now, very important that we speak about these things before we get into the corpus of what we're going to do here today. Now, who believes in magic? Does everyone in here believe in magic? By a raise of hands? Okay. I know you do. Do you believe in magic? Okay, excellent. So essentially, we're all on the same page. We are the magic. Magic could not occur without you and I. Now, one thing that you must understand when pulling off a magical process is that there's no such thing as time, as we commonly know time. Your reality is a verb that's existing in the present, past, and future, and that verb's name in the Bible is Yahweh. Yahweh is a verb. What is a verb? An action in the past, the present, and the future simultaneously, all at once. Now, what is Yahweh in relation to you? Well, Yahweh are or is your four senses. You only have four senses. Forget what they taught you in school. The fifth sense is sensation. Fifth sense is quintessence. It's the culmination of the four others. Now, very important that we understand that Our memory is the vehicle by which we place ourselves in the future, based off of our knowledge of a past event. There's no distinction between the present, past, or future, but the most important and significant point in those three is the very present moment. Because from the present moment, you're allowed to put yourself in the future place or take yourself back to give yourself a distance by which to view your ability or where you're going to be. So this, in a sense, is magical. When you're dealing with magic, you're saying that I want to light this candle, I want to read this book, I want to do this supplication because I want them to pay me in the future. Right? Okay. So who received a cube, a wood cube, upon entry? Okay, how many sides does this cube have? 6 sides. Now this cube is a physical representation of the crystalline holographic matrix that you have in your mind when you close your eyes and cognize about something. When you close your eyes and you think of something and you can see it very vividly, you're doing so within the cube of space. This is the cube of space. The reason why we have this cube and the reason why we were all given pencils is because we will utilize this cube to enhance our memory. Enhancing memory is enhancing visual perception. So in order for magic to occur, you absolutely have to be able to visualize that which you want. And you have to do it in such a way to get exactly what you asked for. Because if you don't, you get what you asked for, but you won't like what you get. To give you an example of a magical process where someone can get what they don't want is as follows. A woman wants $50,000. She wants it so bad that she says, I'm going to utilize magic to do it. So what she does is she goes to her altar. We have this fashioned as one. She goes to her altar. She asks what she wants. She does whatever she does with that, whatever pantheon, whatever system of magic she utilizes. She receives the $50,000 at the expense of getting into a car accident, being in the hospital, and receiving, what is it? Insurance money. See? I got a friend who asked for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He had buku money when he asked for it. But he got the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding after he got beat for it all. See? So you get exactly what you asked for. You must be very careful at how you create the link neuro-linguistically between the psyche, visuals, and what you say and pronounce. Because your words are the bridge between thinking and the universe. And the universe and thought are essentially of the same manufactured kind. They are related. Thought and the universe are related, and the promise that the universe gives to thought is that whatever thought you see, I shall present it for you. I shall give it to you so you can experience it. So guard your thoughts and realize that each and everything that you do is magic. Everything that you do is magic. Every ritual, we all have rituals. So many of us put the same shoe on every time. We ain't gonna put the left shoe on until we put the right on, right? Some people just got their things. Because what it does is it recapitulates to the psyche a rudimentary and roundabout means by which to live and exist. People like formalities. People like, how do you think that institutions like religious institutions can last like the Nation of Islam for over 50 years? People are drawn to the rigidness of the discipline. People like discipline. It's not about the leadership. The leadership is clear. It's only one leader. It's only one star per stage. But people like the fact that there's rigid form and they know what to expect when they get there. Okay, so now there's nothing mechanical in magic. You can create your own magic, but what we intend to show here are some, nothing here is manufactured solely by me. I'm only, if I say anything positive, it's from the ancestors. If I say anything negative, it's from myself. But what I present here is my findings and what I find. So now, if anybody, I know probably nobody's going to answer that, but what is the, but you'll answer it anyway, because you already know it. What is the Hebrew word for memory? Nope. The Hebrew word for memory. Well, what is the Arab word for memory? Because Arabic is the sister language of Hebrew. When a Muslim wants to remember, what do they do? Dhikr. Excellent. The Hebrew word for, and these are what? Zikr beads. Dhikr beads. Now, the Hebrew word for memory is zakar, and it equals 227. 227, which is 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 7 is 11. 11 is a magical number, thus says Aleister Crowley, says that is the number of magic. Very key number in what we're going to deal with when we deal with this. Now, we're introduced to in the Torah, the very first word in the Torah acts as a vehicle to create the medium for what God does all of the fixing up in the first 31 actually verses of the first chapter. Now, what's that God's name? No. That's right, Elohim. Now, Yahweh, his name doesn't become Yahweh until we get to Genesis 2:4. There's a reason why. Because Yahweh has not yet become. First, you need the template. You need the template structure upon which to establish or infuse into it the past, present, and future, which is Yahweh. But the template structure is first a masculine and feminine entity known as Elohim. But now let's Kabbalistically deduce down into coherent terms just what Elohim is, and then we're going to go back into the very first word. Now, Elohim is composed of 3 aspects. The first aspect is called El. 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 Then the second aspect is the He, and the final is He. Now, this is a very, very advanced term. Now, this created all things in existence, but it can only do it within the confines of 6 days. And those 6 days of creation are, in actuality, the very first 6 letters of the Bible. Try your very best to try to compose these letters. Aleph, Lamed, He, Yod, Mim. There's tables and a bunch of literature inside of your folders, and we're going to utilize those folders to challenge the text later to localize right where we're talking about, where creation begins. Creation first begins. Now we're going to talk about this number 11 again, because 11 shows itself as the number 2 in the first letter. In the very first letter of the, see, I have to improvise. I'm holding up the board. In the very first letter of the Bible. Now, what is the very first letter of the Bible? Beth. Beth. What does Beth mean?
House.
It means house. They're utilizing, who's seen the commercial with Eddie Murphy in the new movie?
Norbit.
What's the name of it?
Norbit.
Norbit. That's a Kabbalistic play on words. Eddie Murphy owes the Jews in Hollywood over 150, perhaps more, $1 million. This is why, to make sure they paid, they exposed his penchant for his sexual penchants or whatever. Because they corner you in like the gangsterism. in Hollywood. But they made him sign a contract to do all these films, but they utilized the brother for advanced forms of mind control, because he always plays 2 or more people in the films. Now, people take for granted how these images affect the psyche. You're separating the person in the psyche and creating a dysfunctional and a schizophrenic being by having the person that you know is in the film play a multiple array of characters. I learned from the brother Nicholas, he sent me a link to a website that speaks about mind control. They have what's called the glass room form, where you walk into a glass room where there's nothing but, and what it does is it separates your psyche and places you. They did this to Bruce Lee before they killed him in the film. You remember? Right. They had him in the glass room. Now, what Norbit means is, there's 2 ways of interpreting it. It could be no orbit, meaning they're taking away our orbit. When they demoted Pluto, Pluto may have something very significant to do with melanin. You never know. They destroyed the comet around the time for Katrina. That comet had a very big deal to do with that. I wrote that in my book on Katrina. Now, interesting thing is that the root of Norbit is Nur. What does Nur mean?
Light.
Light, and Bit is Beth. Lighthouse. And a lighthouse is a huge Illuminati signal. So they're trying to promote an agenda. You know, they're trying to promote an agenda, and they utilize visuals because visuals are the best, one of 3 best means to do so. Visuals, ritual, and speaking, hearing. You gave it to me because you pointed to your ear, right? Now, when you hear something, it elicits emotions. And what are emotions? Emotions are nothing but chemical reactions to outside occurrences. It's nothing. It's like pouring this liquid into this liquid, and you get this. That's the emotion. Now, rituals entail pain. Now, you can give up some pain, and you can ritualize someone, and utilize that, and you utilize those mediums as walk-ins into the psyche, so you can exist within the person's cube. You can exist within their cube. You ever, when you're a child, was so overwhelmed by something fearful that what it skewed your ability to carry out a simple task? Fear has that ability to overwhelm you. And some of us as adults are still plagued by the fears of our childhood. Who saw the film Batman Begins? And you'll hear me speak about films also, because films are the hieroglyphs of this era. My brother Rich often says that. The hieroglyphs of this era are the films. And you got to pay attention to what's on the walls. Because even in Kemet, they would have Stella on the wall, and then for a while they'd take them down. They'll destroy them. They were almost as though they were this glyphs for the epoch in order for you to know what was going on, and that's it. Now, back to Elohim. Now, in the pantheons of, I won't say Sumer, because I think Sumer had it all down pat. Their invaders, who were the Akkadians, who came, and then after them the Assyrians, they utilized these 2 terms to describe 2 of the major gods in their pantheon. One was El, and one was Yan. Now, these 2 used to fight one another, but they were both brothers. Now, the word El, what does El mean when someone says El?
Light.
Light or strength. Some people say Lord, some people say God, but it's also light or strength. Strength is excellent because strength, it displays discipline. Because the Aleph is an ox. However, the Lamed is the ox goad. Or the goad. It's what controls the ox. So, and it equals the number 31. Now, 31 is a transfix of 13. Okay, and 31 is composed also of two major significant numbers. Both are, I think 1 and 3 is prime, aren't they? Okay, now, whenever you see the he is, inside of your folders, there's a chart that has all of the Hebrew letters from the top to bottom, and then it also has on the side their classification. Now, what's the first letter? Not in the standard, but on the other side. He. Why? Because they only use one letter to express this sound, where in the other words in Hebrew, they utilize a multitude of letters. Like the word, this is, look at this, brothers and sisters. Now look, this is the lamed here. Yes? Now how do you write lamed in Hebrew? Now let's write it in the Queen's English. Lamed. Drop the A, drop the E. You spell it in Hebrew. Lamed. Lamed means dollar. My teacher Zoriel always taught me that there are other Hebrew letters within Hebrew letters. There's a letter in a letter. There's a lamed in the aleph. There's a pet in the aleph. Okay? Okay, beautiful. Give the brother a warm black hand. It's my brother. This brother Equan. This brother appears with me on a DVD called The Magical Primer, 666 Magical Primer. This brother is a rising adept in the field of Rosicrucianism and alchemy. So stay on the lookout for Equan. Now, how do you spell lamed in Hebrew? Mim, Daleth. Now, lamed means camel. Now, what I'm trying to relay is that they requires 3 letters just to spell essentially one letter. With the letter he, there's only one letter. Now, he is very important because the he symbolizes a transition. Whenever you hear a he is the breath. And what is transmitted with the breath is the ruch. And what is the ruch? The ruch is the spirit. Now, the ruch also means wind, and it also means soul, because it's a part of the soul. The ruch, the neshama, and the nefesh. Now, the ruch is the aspect of spirit which has within it and embossed and imprinted into it thoughts. So, who's ever shot dice? When I was a kid, we used to shoot dice. We used to shoot CeeLo. We used to shoot CeeLo. And then if your girlfriend was there, what you used to do? Here, baby, blow on the dice. Because you're blowing the rook. You're blowing the 6. I want the 6. Shoot the 6. You're blowing on it. So what you're doing is you're invoking into whatever you blow into or blow on your psyche. This is why Adam in Islam was created from what? From clay, and then what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breathed into him the ruh. And then the clay was animated. Okay, now the he is transmitting in Elohim the L into what is this? Yam. What is that? What is yam? Yam is the suffix root of, write this down, of mayim. What is mayim? Mim, yad, mim. This is water. 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 The strength is transferred into the template of water. Now, why water? What's so special about water? What's so special about water?
It's mutable.
It's mutable?
Yeah.
Okay, it's mutable, it's receptive. It responds well to electromagnetic fields. It's a conductor. When the moon is full, what does it do to waters? It rises, but why?
The pull.
It magnetically has an effect on the water. Now, what's now water follows the mandates of mathematics, because H2O is what? What does H2O mean? Two hydrogen and what? One oxygen. So that means that this is what water looks like. It looks like Mickey Mouse. That's 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Now what makes the Mickey Mouse water, and where does it all play into the motif? First, let's say this, that and I promised people last year that we were going to go right into some Kabbalah and we were going to do the explaining later. We were going to, you got to do independent study, so when you in settings like this, you get right into it and you can know what we're talking about. And you get the tape and you go over the tapes over and over again, so you can have a command of it and be in the top percentile. Now, meme, what is the name of the last letters? There are 5 last final letters in Hebrew. They're called the sophites. Okay, so the distinct quality of the sophites is that they have different numeric equivalencies. Now, what is the numeric equivalency of the meme final?
400.
No, 600. 600. 400 is the tau. Right? Now, interesting to note also is that the first meme is 40. The meme final is 600. Now, the meme final has a different appearance than the first one. The meme final looks like a square, does it not? Looks like a square. Now, what's happening is the strength now gets embossed into the waters, but also this word for water, or the suffix root for water, yam, also means yom, which also means the day or the time. So now the concept of time is coming into place, and now it's not leaving behind its friend, the number 6. Because 6 in the Sumerians, from the Sumerians, they utilize a system of measurement, of time measurement, called the sexagesimal system, utilizing the number 6 to dissect things in sixes, was to get the whole overview. Now that is divine cosmic instinct coming from the psyche of an individual who is essentially composed of 6, because we are 85% of our composition is what? Water. Now, why do snowflakes, when they fall down, what is the characteristics of all snowflakes? They're 6-pointed. Why?
Signature of water.
It's the signature of water, but mathematically it's because what happens is this oxygen molecule is without an electron. It's incomplete, so it brings one to it. So there's a relationship going on. They're bringing everything together, and what happens is it becomes a 6-sided figure. Gotta excuse my artwork, it's a little shabby, right? Okay. It becomes a 6-sided figure, and you can see the 6-sided figure in here. Here it is. See? On the molecular level, it becomes, and what happens is water conforms at an angle of 104.45 degrees. Now, when we use math, let's use the calendar and say, what is 104.45 times 6? For those who haven't done the math in quite some time, let me tell you. the number is 626.7. Now, this means a lot of things to many people, but it may not mean too much to some of us. But this is very, 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 very significant because the number 626 Kabbalistically equates to a term which is called the Qliphoth. Who's ever heard of Qliphoth? Okay, now, I was looking for a while to figure out what the hell is a Qliphoth? What does it mean? And it took me months to figure out the use of language. Qliphoth is composed of two words, Kelly and Poth, which means parched morsel. Now, the idea of the Qliphoth became prevalent. It's a Moorish concept. Two brothers and who were related, rabbis, in I believe the 13th century, their name eludes me. They were the first ones to begin to speak about dark and quote-unquote demonic concepts in their Kabbalistic writings. And out of that, a Kabbalist named Isaac Luria gleaned and pulled from it his concepts. And he studied, in the history, they say he studied up to 3 years straight, meditating for that period of time right off of the Nile. Interesting that the Westerners in the books, they often utilize his father's name, which is Ashkenaz. What is Ashkenaz? What is an Ashkenaz?
A type of Jew.
What kind?
European.
That was something that I believed for many years until I just discovered that that is incorrect as well. Because there is no genetic marker for the European to be in any of the regions where biblical science came out of. And then when I looked up the word Ashkenaz, it does appear in the Bible. It appears 3 times. How does this stand to reason that he can place himself in a historical context when he did not exist when the book was composed? The term Ashkenazi is just a title. It's like calling yourself white. Did you know that if you fill out a job application, you can put, when they say what race, you can put white? Did you know in some old context of Freemasonry, it said that only a white man could be a Mason? These were blinds placed in there by the Moors because white is a caste system. It's not a race. So Ashkenaz, the term, is a Hebrew term. It has nothing to do with Europeans. So let's go out there with that because our biggest thing is changing the template of how we give titles and names to things, because when we do that, we give it so much more power. In the film Aragon, he says, how do you have such a command over the magical world? He said, I know the names of things, and I say their names, and then have a command over them. So you can't be letting people tell you what names the titles are. Now back to Isaac Luria, and now this is a thing where you always have to keep your receipts, because the ancients used to keep their receipts. There's a science behind keeping your receipts, because that is the proof of a real alloidial purchase. So they go to the records, and this guy, Isaac Luria, is signing Isaac Ashkenazi. Right? So people in the history books have been saying that this gentleman was European. However, this gentleman's mother was a Sephardic Jew. Sephardic Jews are Moorish Jews. Now, he had an uncle who was the grand rabbi of Cairo. Where the hell is Cairo? Where is Egypt? Africa. So the greatest, quote unquote, Kabbalist of the present time, Isaac Luria, got his Kabbalah from Africa. He sat on the Nile and meditated by the waters. So water is very significant when you take in consideration how its receptive qualities can be utilized as a medium by which to bring things to you. This is why they're selling Kabbalah water at the Kabbalah Center on 48th Street and what's that, Lexington Avenue?
No, 52nd or 52nd?
It's 48th.
48th and 3rd.
And 3rd, okay. I went to the Kabbalah Center. I wanted to hear what they were talking about, and I bought the water, $2.50, right? I'm sure it tastes the same as any other water. However, this water is distinct and different. Why? Because it has been infused with the intent of those who are selling it. See, water is bound by the sound that you direct towards it. So when I speak to you, I speak into your waters. So now let's look at Elohim from a whole different perspective. Elohim is us. Elohim is us, and we are the ones who manufactured this whole reality within 6 days. But those 6 days, the 6 yom, are 6 sides of our reality. So now your psyche is a vessel, and what in mathematics, when I fill a vessel up, what am I filling up?
The volume.
The volume. I'm filling up the volume, and the volume has a specific numeric equivalency. Now, a little secret for those who can hear, for those who have ears, the number for biblical pi is 375, which is a twist and play on the number 3, 5, and 7. Now the 375, notice I said a twist, for those who have an ear, here. Now the reason why 375, now when you go to the book of Kings and you look at how they constructed King Solomon's temple, and then you look at Solomon's name, you'll see that the temple is Solomon. Because the number for Solomon is the number of the building. It's geometric patterns. So this was an ancient science of encrypting within our text manifold levels of meaning, so that in an event that something perhaps happened to us, we could leave our book anywhere and anyone can pick it up and they'll get a whole different story.
Was the name of this building 357?
No, his name equals 357. And when you look at, in the book of Kings, look at their numeric use of measurements and then play with those numbers. And you'll see that the number 375, when you divide it, when you take 15, you see 1500 come out all the time, but when you divide it by the key, which is 4, which is Yahweh again, what happens is it unlocks 375, which is the number of Solomon's name. So the number of peace, see they have golden ratios in architecture. They have a standard number by which to build all artifices, and it conforms to a spin orientation. So let's get into this area of our discussion. Now, when you're speaking about yes, sir.
Could I ask you a question? So Ashkenaz means what? Like you said?
No, Ashkenaz is what during the break I can show you exactly where it appears, and I'll elucidate for you the exact meaning. We'll go over it together. However, it doesn't mean Polish, and it don't mean white, and don't mean Eastern Parkway, don't mean I own the whole city. So it ain't white folks at all when they speak. When people say, "Oh, he's an Ashkenazi Jew," no, no, he's not nothing. He's nothing in the book at all. Not even good or bad. He's just not here. He's not there. But by way of insinuation and by way of abusing our memory, what happens is we don't know where to go because we don't know where we were at. So when you displace a people, you displace them in time with by the utilization of giving them nomenclatures that don't belong to them. And then take certain nomenclatures away from them. Like they got a word, nigger, it's like they call it the N-bomb. Well, they had some Indonesian people from 10, 15, 100,000 years ago called the Naga. Their god name was Sambo. Now you got some black politicians trying to outlaw the word nigger in New York City. Can you imagine them locking niggas up for saying nigger? Nigger, naga. Niger. So what they do is, when you're in the future and you can't remember your past, you don't have a present. See? So time is an abstract part of memory. So I had a cousin that used to say that. He said, nigga, we built the pyramids in the future and put them in the past. See? So we can remember who we are and where we're going. This is why the pygmies, to this day, their whole spirituality entails them singing. And what are they singing? They're singing songs that they have memorized, because in the song lies their evolution. Who saw the movie Apocalypto? Now, did you see the little baby girl? She cursed the guys that came and took them into slavery. She told them exactly what was going to happen. She didn't make none of it up. It was already embedded in her spiritual system. So she knew when to see the signs. She said, oh, I know what's going to happen to you, because you deal with this. So she gave it all up. And then when they was on their journey, they were seeing all this stuff occurring. Right? In Islam, the most esteemed Muslim is which one? The Hafiz. Why? Because he has memorized the Quran. And for those of us from New York City, who's ever was a God body? Who was in the nation of gods and earth before? Everybody was a God body before. Peace, God. Everybody. That's one of our doorways in. Those are the last of the metaphysicians, the street ones. Right? The gods, the poor righteous teacher. Now, what the gods say? If you ain't know your math, some places you couldn't even come outside. You had to have in your memory. Big time in Canarsie, the whole projects is God body. You go out to Staten Island, the whole projects be God. Babies be born God. That be his name. That's the God. That's born God. Because I was born God. But he knows the mathematics. He has mastered it, because what does he know now? Now he has harnessed the memory bank. The memory bank. The Rasulullah used to make the Muslims master the Quran, because when the enemies came and they took books, which was the penchant for Europeans, they took books and burnt them so they can rewrite history and insinuate themselves in it. Right? But the way they shitted on Islam is they went through the back door. They used Aristotelianism. All of the big Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah and all of those highfalutin sheikhs that everybody venerates in their books. These dudes were Greeks, man. Greek thinkers, man. Rashid tells us in the Moors of Antiquity, he said for years he had a colonizer, a white man in his mind, telling him how to interpret Moorish history. So we all have to destroy that colonizer and start creating from our memory bank our future. So now the reason why I gave everyone these blocks is, first, I envisioned creating the block itself I was going to use black paper. And the reason why is because your hands are an externalization of your God mind. Now, one hand in Hebrew is yod. Yod equals 14. And they said there's 14 phalanges or whatever in the hand, like separations of the bones. And it's spelled Yod Daleth. And it's the most powerful, one of the most powerful letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and the smallest. That's why in Star Wars, Yoda, the most powerful, Yoda, Lucas was a Kabbalist and a Jew and whatever else. He said that the strongest Jedi, would be the Yod, the smallest one. Because the Yod, every letter in Hebrew has a Yod in it. It begins from a point. It comes down. A point. It comes down. For those who have an ear, let them hear. Now, as an externalization of your brain, your hands, when you put yod together, you have what? Yod equals 14. Yod equals what? 28. In the doggone cosmology, that's Amma's number. Amma is the grand artificer. He is the God who created all things out of himself. Now, 28 is also the number of the amount of letters within the first verse and chapter of the Hebrew Bible. And when they say, in God we trust, in court, They shooting the number 28 at you too. And on the money. It should be inside of your folder. You see a $20 bill. On the back it says, let me show the people on TV land. Can you see this, Ashraf, well? Yes. Focus it. It says, in God we trust. Now, I wrote the Hebrew, but I also wrote the English to show you that they inverted the numbers. Now, in God we trust, when you use what's called the Roman Latin simplex, where you use the number 1 for A, the number 2 for B, 3 for C, it equals 175. Now, when you write in God we trust in Hebrew, it equals 157. That is by design to maintain the numeric equivalency when you reduce it down to 13. Okay? Reducing numbers down to their lowest number is Moorish. That's a Moorish paradigm. And the practice of such is called Kisab al-Jumal. Kisab al-Jumal, which means, I want y'all to write this down. Kisab al-Jumal. K-H-I-S-A-B al-Jumal. K-H-I-S-A-B al-Jumal. J-U-M-A-L. J-U-M-A-L. Now, Kisab al-Jumal is the reduction of numbers to their lowest terms. So that's what they got that from. Now, let's look at in God. Now, what does the God that they're talking about is Yahweh? Because they said that the only way to know Yahweh is, the only person who knows Yahweh is him who knows fear. So that's why we are, unfortunately, it has become a part of our psyche to venerate God, but only in the confines of fear. They teach, in Islam, they got 3 different kinds of fear. In Judaism and Christianity, it's all based off the utilization of fear, by invoking into you a fear for something external to yourself. Actually, you're fearing your 4 senses. You're fearing what they're bringing to you in the form of perception. So if your God deals with fear, it stands to reason that you're a slave to fear. To know God, you must know fear. You understand where they're going with this? That's why fear equals 216. And 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. But 6 times 6 times 6 is you. You're the 666. Because you're golden. See? The golden crown. See? Melanin is your golden crown. See? This is why they insinuate and try to act like you. We build artifices to mimic who we were. You ever seen a building with a golden top? Who saw the movie Departed? That was the determining factor on Matt Damon buying the apartment, was his ability to see the state building from his window. In Boston, and the state building had a gold dome. He was in awe. What is awe? Awe is another word for fear. Awe. He was looking at the golden dome. And the whole movie was about him becoming initiated and then dying like everybody else. Who saw the film? And another note, to digress, that's the second time recently that in a film that the big Hollywoods used the word nigger. Joe Pesci used it in
Good Shepherd.
The Good Shepherd, and Nicholson used it in the beginning of the movie. They set it off with that. And he said something about the niggas. It's just one thing about the niggas. They don't take what they want. So they're preparing us for a slaughter. They're preparing everybody's minds to make it much more easier to knock us down. And the reason in the military, in order for them, the military is an institution that kicks out 20,000 per year killers. People are just there to kill. Mm-hmm. And the way they regiment their minds is to keep them fixated on Yahweh. Keep them fixated on form, malities. The drill sergeant purposely creates, these dudes are so clean, it's ridiculous. The drill sergeant purposely makes mistakes and sabotages them to abuse them. And after you get out of a certain part of the military called total control, you are noticing everything. You're noticing how many inches your arm is away from you when you're walking, everything. And now you're a walk-in. You're there to kill.
That's how they do the police.
That's right.
You're possessed.
That's it. You're possessed. You're possessed. You're a value. Filled. Now, very important. It says in God. In God. The word for in God is, the word for in is one letter in Hebrew, and that's the Beth. By connotation, what do you do when you reach a house? You do what? You go in the house. Now, God, in this sense, equals the number 26. 26 plus 2 is what? 28. There's that number 28 again. So now, another word for God in Hebrew, if you look up in your Kabbalistic encyclopedia, those of you who have one, look up the number 20. The number 20 is 2 yards together, which is a word called Yeya. And Yeya is a God name because it entails utilizing both of your hands. When you utilize both of your hands, what are you doing? You're seeing, but you're seeing on another dimensionality. Now, take your cubes, everyone. Take your cubes. Take your cubes, and with both hands, close your eyes and twirl the cube in your hand and count the dimensions, count the sides. And visualize the cube as you're turning it in your hands, visualize it in your mind. Visualize the cube in your mind and all of its surfaces. Visualize it. Do you feel it? Do you see it? Somebody shooting dice. Okay. Now you see with your inner eye how you got the cube. Now, as a visual tool, I want us to. Everyone has their pencil? Okay. This is what I want y'all to do. Check this out. Now, your hands are the externalization of your God mind. It is with your hands that you build a thing. It's with your hands that you construct a thing. So with your hands in the psyche, construct the six-sided form of your visual tool by which to advance your agenda. Now, very important, I said advance an agenda. Remember that in the Bible, the God of the Bible is a vehicle. Meaning that you build the God in front of you, you immerse yourself in the God, and you tell the God where you want to go. Because God is nothing but a creation of what you make God. You created God. You create God. For those who have an ear, let them hear. You can't be a Mason unless you believe in God. You can't be an artificer unless you believe in God, unless you can build. Unless you can be the living personage of what a grand architect of the universe is.
Square.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You ever heard of Stephen Coakley?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He good, huh?
Oh, yeah, Steve Coakley's the one that told us about how Jesse killed Martin Luther King at the Lorraine Hotel. That was a ritual. They killed the king. When you kill the king hermetically, you kill the reserve of the people. We still suffering from Biggie died, Tupac death. That's why you never get caught up in the personage. See, but I might sound jazzy up here, but in my personal life, you may not want to hang out with me. Our people have been trained in a sense to venerate the persona, overlook the message. Mm-hmm. So when we leave out, we try to take the man with us, and then when we figure out that the man is just as fickle and delicate and human as we are, our reserve and our strength tends to reduce itself. This is why you can't go with the man, go with the message. Now, the first word in the Bible is the very sound frequency that they reenacted on 9/11. Now, what they did is they utilized the word called Bereshit.
Battleship.
Bereshit. Bereshit. Now, this is what created Elohim. Actually, 9 letters created Elohim. Now, let's peep the math. 9 letters. Bera. That Resh look crazy. Bera. Shit. This is the first 6. We'll get into what it means. We can never run out of means by which to express this. And then Bera. So it says Bereshith Bera. But the next word after this, Bereshith Bara Elohim. It says, in beginning create Elohim. So the first thing that was created was the Elohim. It wasn't saying that the first thing in beginning created Elohim, the heavens and the earth. It's not saying that 3 processes were created. 3 processes were created. Those processes were, that's fam. 3 processes were created. Bereshith bara Elohim, heavens and the earth. So the Elohim represent what's called the Shemayim and the Arets, which were the heavens and the earth. Now you see in heavens, the word in heavens, there's a suffix root, mayim, which is water, again. So the heavens were equated with the water, and the arets is equated with that which is fundamentally grounded. Now, are they crazy? Yeah, they're bugging. Yeah. Help me out, EQ. I know they trying to turn it up. Now listen. Now, Bereshith bara. Now let's do the math. Beth in Rashid. Now this word right here equals the number 9/11. And what does it mean? It says beginning. So what were they doing?
Beginning the madness.
Beginning, and that's why they used the 21st century on the 21st month of the 21st century to begin something. See? The number 21 is 3 cycles of what? 7, which is a completion. So they completed an epoch, and what they do is, now they had a Moorish brother that accused the Jews of creating their calendar to offset the coming of the Messiah. See? Time cycles are very, 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 very significant when you take in consideration the power of what memory is about. See, you have to remember who you need to be at a particular time in order for you to receive what is yours. You understand? So this is very important. Some of this stuff is inspired. And I used to smoke weed when I was little, so I can't remember shit. Right? So now, another important thing that you want to remember is this. Is that if you do not know who you are in the future, you will not inherit what is rightly yours. So everything in New York City belongs to you. Everything in the continental United States of America on this land belongs to you. You don't have to pay no taxes. You don't have to do none of that shit because it's all yours. Because you're the only being on the planet that does not have to be naturalized. You are a natural person. Therefore, all things, even thoughts, are yours. But the only way you can be able to, and this is the important thing about about why Europeans were so very fixed in bloodlines and family. Why? Why? Because they knew they practiced the science. By the time it got to the Thule Society, they called it vril, what was in the blood. Your vril in your blood is fundamentally your knowledge of who you are. So we never happenstancely had children with just anybody. There was a whole rite that you had to go through. In Islam, they have the wali. The wali is the guardian of the union. Make sure nothing is inappropriately goes down without it being covered first. So what happens is now we are just wham bam thank you man, wham bam thank you man. We having kids, and yeah, we love our kids, but sometimes we having kids inappropriately, and we are creating a whole species of people who do not know who they are. Because we're not giving them a tree of life. Because the tree of life is your family tree. The tree of life is also your family tree. It shows you cosmically your beginning point, where you came from. So, like the czars of Russia, they took, Western imperialism took that whole cycle out. That whole thing about them being kings and whatnot in that hemisphere, they eradicated that. Do you think that them people know that there's still, Reverend Phil Valentine tells us that that's why they didn't let the boy be the president. They pushed the dodo there. What's his name? Gore. Gore is a descendant of the czars. That would, in essence, put the bloodline there. So what happens is, there's going to be a point where we all remember something. But if you don't have a context by which to filter your memory, when it happens, you're not going to be a benefactor of what's going to be, stands to be received. And everybody thinks that 2012 is going to be a catastrophic event. 2012 perhaps might be the blind. I feel like the quickening of the spirit is going on right now. Fuck 2012. I'm not trying to wait till I get there. I want mines now. And we're getting it. What you're asking for is coming to you more so faster now than ever before. Both good and bad. So you draw to you with your fears, your greatest fear, because fear and love vibrate almost on the same frequency. This is why in the Good Shepherd, they utilize crossbreeding. The character in the film, and I'm going to show you something when we get into another part of our presentation. I have a demonstration I'm going to show you from the film The Good Shepherd. Call Sinetta. If you live out of town, call Sinetta before you get here to see if you want to buy the tapes. Call Azariah. Call these brothers. Come see Jonathan for the books. Come see Hakeem Bey. Hakeem got a selection of DVDs and his books that are overwhelming. So, anybody else I'm missing? Yeah, me too. Call me. 718-506-4518 for we have a wide selection of DVDs, my own DVDs, 718-506-4518. I'll pay the phone bill before I pay the rent. So this will never go out.
Usually go through Rich.
Rich too.
He uses it in Brooklyn.
Rich too. Rich's phone number. Rich is my brother. Rich told you about the event, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rich is my brother. Rich's phone number is, he has what's called Underground Railroad Productions. Rich's phone number is 646-427-4219. He has all of my DVD material as well as several other titles. 646-472-4219. Okay. That's Brother Rich. Okay, beautiful. Now, 9/11. Now, in the narrative, the Bible, the way you create your magical future is you use an aspect of the narrative and you write it out, and you do so with a specific design in mind. The design, and this is when we get to our part of the lecture, or the class, when we're gonna create a actual document as Holy Writ, which is the testament to where we shall be in the future. If you want health and prosperity in the future, you have to utilize the science of mind, will, and Holy Writ. Because when you write something down, when you and I go to court systems, or you go through any institution, financial or otherwise, they always want you to do what? Could you please sign? Can you sign? Every transaction is a signing. Can you please sign? All that comes from the Bible. That's Kabbalistic. In the Bible it says, by 2 or 3 witnesses shall all things be established.
Contract law.
That's contract law. That's notary. Now more so than ever, the criminal justice system and the Supreme Courts are now, excuse me for saying criminal justice, the Supreme Courts are now receiving documents, and people are submitting, what do you call that? A motion, and they're drawing off a Talmudic law. They're utilizing the Talmud as the standard, as the law book. Do we see the significance of this? They're using a book, which essentially, or a compendium of books, essentially written by us in our past, that we know nothing about in the future, in the present. So what does this mean for our future?
You want a box?
The Talmud. 2 of them. The 2 distinct Talmuds. The one that's most venerated is the Babylonian. When you hear Babylonian, always think of a black man named Guda of Lagash. Guda, G-U-D-E-A. Guda of Lagash, L-A-G-A-S-H. Black man. You usually see him sitting in a very obscure position where he has his hands in a very, it's almost impossible to put your hands the way he was putting them. But this was a sign, perhaps, or a signal or gesture for a high priest.
It looks like yin
Yeah, it does. It looks like a serpent, like serpentine in a sense, yin yang. Now, he's often situated with a board on his lap with the designs for a building. Now, when you hear Babylon, these were the people who created Babylon. The people for West Africans, the original people from the West African region, which was the Kushite region, traveled all the way over into that Golden Horn area, all into what is considered presently the Middle East. The Arabs who occupied that region are descendants of Assyrians and Akkadians. The Ashurites, the Assyrians, with the script that you see, is the Assyrian script. The sounds are ours. The sounds are ours. Now, they maintain certain particular scripts. I'm digressing a little bit, but I always bring it back. We maintain and use certain scripts, and we call them liturgical scripts. The liturgical script for the Bible is the Aramaic. We maintain the Aramaic for liturgical reasons, because it has specific rules. Now, who listens to hip-hop? Everybody listen to hip-hop. Who's been listening to it for years? Your favorite rapper, right? He is the one who rhymes in a way that is most clings to you, because they use a system of meter called iambic pentameter. That's one of the types. They have iambic tetrameter too. The rule is to put a certain number of syllables within a certain meter of music. What does this do? It again manipulates wave frequency, sound, and then you have certain rhymes that you can remember. I got 11 Mac 11s, about 8 38s, 9 that 10. We can go forever with your favorite guy. That's my favorite guy, Biggie. So I know all his stuff by heart. But the beautiful thing about it is that the brother brought to him exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
He said it's kind of quiet. He said, what, in that song, one of the greatest ones, Downfall.
Pray for my downfall.
Yeah. Praying for my downfall. Talking about the people around him.
Yeah.
But he's saying the future in his present context, saying his future, and then the consciousness which occupied the body put itself in that circumstance. Tupac did the same thing. Jay-Z, however, is putting himself in the upper echelon. He did that with his intonation, with sound. Dr. Seuss educated us for so many years. He's almost unmatched with the use of iambic pentameter. He was the one who could best put a certain number of syllables within a certain meter. George Bush does it in his speeches, those which are composed by the writers. Because you know he is cold Riri. My little brother showed me something on the internet with the longest pause I ever seen. And he was like this, like. I said, yo, no. I said, please turn this off. You lying. And I said, look at this. He's a walk-in. He's a walk-in. He's a manufactured being, just like Obama. Obama is the one that's going to mar the line between, they're going to make a new class of niggers called Africans. They the new niggers. Mexicans, the new niggers. So Obama is the nigga you just don't know what he is. Like Harvard, law, African,
Cocaine.
look like
This.
yeah, what the hell are you, nigga? Right? So now, yeah, an intelligent agent. Right. A double agent is the intelligent one. So now what happens is, your iambic pentameter, or our use of language as it creates the rhythm, like our children, if you've ever been on a train with them kids after school, they are crazy, right?
Yeah.
You be wanting to get up and kick they behind. But they be singing their songs and rapping. Like, you ever seen people just standing there just rapping? Right. Because our people cosmically are trying to realign and reconfigure and have our DNA ready for the influx of light code transmissions. That's why the babies are making songs let it rain, make it rain, and bring it out. And they got dances to go with it, right? Then all the rappers talking about making it rain. They thinking about, I make it rain and throwing money and all. It ain't about money. You laughing. It's about light code transmissions. It's about God informing you as to who you are by the dropping of the dew. The dropping of the dew. Because the dew is the tel. It's called the tel. In Hebrew, you spell dew, teth lamed. The teth is the serpent. The serpent. In Mexican cosmology, they saying that's what's coming. They got every year, they got a temple in Mexico that appears as though a serpent is climbing up its stairs.
Oh yeah, when the sun hits it.
When the sun hits it. People come from all over the world to be there at that particular time, to see that. So cosmologically, when you receive light, when this is why our people would fixate their minds and their psyche towards certain celestial light stations. The one that we predominantly focused our attention on was Sirius. Because Sirius really means Shabda. Now show you how Mexico and Egypt was on the same page. Because they called their underworld Shabalba. In the movie The Fountain, excellent movie, the girl, see now all these movies come out at the same time for a reason. Who saw The Fountain? The Fountain. If you ain't see it, you better see it. We got it.
You got it here?
Don't tell nobody. Now, the movie, now check this out. Go ahead.
I buy mine from the post office.
That's right.
Remember I was telling
Yeah. That's right. Now, I got mine from a brother on the train that was selling them in English and Spanish. He could speak English and Spanish. That's his hustle. I said, man, I got to get something from him because he was going hard, right? I like people that hustle. So now, in the movie, she writes 11 chapters. 11 chapters and lets her husband write the 12 after her death. But she writes a book which begins in Spain and ends at Shabalba. Why? What's the fixation with Spain? That's the Africa Part 2. El Andalus. We educated the world from Spain. The Moors is that's the secret that they're hiding in all the films. And that's all you have to do is in your heart expatriate. In your heart first, declare yourself as a Moor. That's why in the movie Pan's Labyrinth, the little baby girl, they're in Spain, 1944, Franco's army. They're in Spain. The labyrinth was a Moorish Kabbalist named Moses Cordova. He drew a depiction of the Sephiroth, but used the first letter of each of the Sephiroth and created a labyrinth. Because the labyrinth is the cycle, is the symbol of emanation, of how a thing comes into being through the vortex in Cartesian philosophy. Descartes is the one. Anything, when they say Cartesian philosophy, it comes from Descartes, René Descartes, the French metaphysician.
I think therefore I am.
And whatnot. Yeah, I think, therefore I am. Okay? So now, a number such as 911, to be the equivalency of the first word, Rashid, because the Beth is always showed in the Torah to be bigger. Look at your inside of your work. There should be a page. Can I have a packet? Okay. This is yours, right, beloved? Okay, here's my packet. And I numbered the pages so we can fly through this. Now, go to page 10. Is everyone there? Okay, now look. The first, now Hebrew is written from
Right to left.
right to left, because why?
That's your brain thing.
That's where?
Your brain operates from the right to left.
Well, yeah, because we're very visual. We have a great visual cortex. The ability to kind of use those terms out of context. But what I'm trying to say is that you lean towards visuals more so than anything else, and this is why the Hebrew language was composed in such a way to look beautiful, to appear beautiful. Okay? So now when you're looking at it, it's evoking a meaning upon the symbol centers of your psyche. So now the very first letter is the Beth. Is the Beth. Now, the Beth, if you can see, it's distinguished from the rest of the word. It's bigger than the rest of the word. Now, the number is, now when you increase the size of the Beth, it takes it to the thousands mark. The Beth, in that sense, equals 2,000. So the word equals 2911. Go back to the old Dirty Harry movies, and you tell me, you call me at the number, and you tell me the number on his badge. See if I'm bugging. That I know they use numbers to create us into mindless buffoons. Okay, Dirty Harry, what kind of gun he had? A 9. No, you a baby. Yes, you did. A 357.
I had that same gun too.
Yeah, oh, everybody had a 357. We found one by the skate key years ago when I was little. Now, a 357 are the numbers 3, 5, and 7. They, for those who have an ear, let them hear. There's a reason why they utilize certain numeric potencies to elicit certain symbolisms. And what do they call a gun? A peacemaker, right? Shalom means peace, and shalom equals in Gematria 375. Excuse me, 357. So help me understand where they're going with this. Okay? 375 and 357 are the same thing. we've demonstrated that with the 157 and the 175 that they utilize in God We Trust. Now, what happens, and the reason why they distinguish the Beth from the Rashid is because Rashid means something. Now, what is it saying? Ra, when you hear Ra, you think of what? Egypt. The Egyptian god Ra. So what was his symbol? The sun. But also the circle with the dot in the center. How do you make a perfect circle? The compass. For those who have an ear, let them hear what the true intent of the tool is. Creating a perfect circle, you can do so with words. In which way can we create a perfect circle with words? We must use a language that is circumspect, in a sense. And that language is Hebrew. Because Hebrew, you need, in order for you to speak Hebrew, you need the octaves. There's 7 of them, but they repeat the do after. Do, re, mi, sa, fo, la, ti, and then we go do. So it's 7 octaves. And then 7 over 22 is what? The rational form of what? Pi. And pi deals with what? Circles. So the proper way to write the Hebrew alphabet is in actually a circle. A circle, because it is circumspect. It is not linear. The illusion that time presents to you is that this round clock speaks about a time period which can be defined as me walking from here to there in a straight linear line. That abuses consciousness and doesn't free it. Time is about cycles, is it not, Sam? Cycles. Everything turns. In Kabbalah, on the last tree of life, Kether, which is the top Sephiroth, the name of it is Rashid Ha-Gelgolem. Rashid Ha-Gelgolem. Whenever you hear Ha, it means of. Rashid is beginning, Ha of, Gelgolem, twirling. Twirling. Isaac Luria made very famous in Kabbalah the science of reincarnation called the Gilgul. The Gilgul. Meaning that all souls have already been here before. They just keep going in an ever never-ending cycle of incarnations. Pascal Beverly Randolph also created the same concept when he spoke about the black suns. That out of the black suns came souls, and they go from sun to sun and incarnate in the planets around them. Madam H.P. Blavatsky took Pascal Beverly Randolph. Let me show the brothers and sisters a picture of our brother. This is the father of Western magic. Pascal Beverly Randolph, a brother who lives right down in the 5 Points region of the city. The brother Sehu goes every year at his birth or death date. Yes, his birthday, and lights a candle there. This is a forgotten, the greatest occultist ever in our century. In this epoch, is a brother, okay, from New York City. And Madam H.P. Blavatsky got him killed because she said that he was giving up the secrets. But they would not have today Rosicrucianism if it were not for him, because they traced their authentic Rosicrucianism from him. Because he woke up one day and said, I'm a Rosicrucian, and began writing all about Rosicrucianism.
But didn't he go to France and they...
he went all over the world as a teacher.
Yeah, as far as Rosicrucianism is involved. Didn't he go to France and they appointed him to make a Rosicrucian chapter in New York? He was, as far as I know, he went to France, was amongst the Rosicrucians there, and he did like a seance, and they were impressed with his mediumship.
Yeah,
that happened
excellent.
after the fact, after he started. But yes, they
No,
did.
that happened after.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was already pretty much doing what he was doing.
Yeah. Before that, he was with spiritualists. Yeah. Then he started talking bad about them because it was this people pimping off it. Yeah, it was charlatanism. Yeah. But another great book, which is very rare, that just got unearthed from the French, from the French translation, is Sex Magic. Okay, and he has a chapter in here on astrology, perfume, color, and sound. Okay? Pascal Beverly Randolph. Pascal Beverly Randolph. East West Books has, if they don't have the book there, they'll order it for you. You can go to East West and ask them for all the books pertaining to Pascal Beverly Randolph. They'll tell you they should have some available. They have a big one, very expensive, on his Rosicrucian documents and whatnot. But when you get into, these are four, essentially, four elements which define a magical process and make it perfect. You have to have the right time to do it. Astrology. Perfume is elicit, certain scents elicit a certain, when you smell something crazy, you be like, God damn, what the hell is that, right? When you smell something good, you be like, wow, that's beautiful. Creates a fix in the psyche, a certain mind state which makes you receptive. That's why we used to burn frankincense and myrrh inside of the temples. Frank and myrrh is masculine and feminine energy. So next time you burn that, remember that that's what you're bringing into the temple.
There's a movie coming out that's going to deal with the essence of things like that. With perfume, it's called Perfume.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a book out that deals with that too.
Wow.
Patrick Susskind.
And the reason why I think is because scent has the closest relationship to memory than anything else. Because your olfactory senses, you can remember smells more than you can remember names, occurrences, or certain things in your life. But a certain smell can, like the project smell the same way all over the nation. Because it's a mixture of urine, the compactor, right? And whatever else you can fathom, right? Huh? Cigarettes, all that.
Alcohol, bleach
Yeah.
on the floor.
Bleach and all that. It smells and it elicits a certain smell. So you be like, God,
Chinese rap.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So smells. I mean, you could be all the way in Moscow 20 years later, and you be like, it smell like Howard houses, like the project. My mother, that's your project. When she was little.
That's what I thought when I went to Nigeria. It took me about 15 years before they had sewage.
And color is another very important medium. Color is another important medium because color and sound both coupled together. So one of my teachers, brother named Zoriel, he used to, I think I shared this with you, say who he used to get sick at the solstice and the equinox period every year for that one day. Because he used to do 7 meditations every day and had attuned himself to the cycles of time so that during those periods where there's a great purge and an entry into a new wavelength, he would physically experience it. But one of his meditations, to bring it up, is that he was a Botar Kabbalist. He was with the builders of the Adytum. I'm a member of the builders of the Adytum as well. I'll give you the address later. It should be $12 a month. This is my little certificate. It's not a big certificate. This means I just completed the first set of courses. Anybody that sends in like the first few tests gets this. At any rate, this is the certificate for 7 steps in practical occultism. In that, they teach you the relationship between color and sound. And they send you, when you go later on into it, they send you blank tarot cards and tell you to fill in the colors of the tarot. So you can make the tarot people black, make them purple, whatever, but you were supposed to color them, because once you color them, you infuse your own psyche into them, and now the cards are yours. And a sister made the cards, the Rider-Waite cards. A sister drew those cards too. What's her name? I think her last name is Scott, and she went to Pratt Institute right there in Brooklyn. Okay, now the Rashid Hagel-Golem on the last tree, on the 4 trees in the 4 world scheme of things. Now, for those who perhaps might not be familiar with the 4 worlds in the Kabbalistic scheme of things, is when you perform a magical process, you have to take what your intent is down the planes of existence, down into the physical realm. So, for all extensive purposes, we are here in the fourth realm. We are here in what we call the Malkuth of Asya, right? But if there was ever such thing as an elevator that would go sideways, backwards, front, up, down, forward, whatever, that's what the Sephiroth are. And when you attune yourself to the tree of life, you can go into different Sephiroth all the time. And the Good Shepherd, that movie was about the initiation of Yesod, because his address was 80. 80 was the address of his house. So Matt Damon played a character called Edward Wilson in the film, but Edward Wilson was really James Jesus Angleton, the greatest spy in the world, right? So now, or counterintelligence personage in the world. But now, symbolically, Yesod equals the number 80, because Yesod is Yod Sod. Now, Sod means secret. So Yesod is the secret of fertility, because the Yod is the fertile seed. So the fertile seed, Yesod, or the secret science of sex, is localized in that region. So that whole film was initiating him into the different sciences of sex, one of them being the obscure and the very the weird rituals that they did was they had him laid butt naked on an altar bed, rather, an altar bed, not just a bed. It was more like an altar bed, and on there he would have to confess his greatest secret. You know what I'm saying? So all of these rites are there for the psyche to abuse it and to, in a sense, make it to clear out the volume to fill anything you want in it. So now, the Rashid HaGilgolim is the Kether of Asya. Now this sounds obscure to those who perhaps are not familiar with it. Let me give you a depiction to help everyone with this. Now, we always see this as being the tree of life. And I'm going to show everyone shortly what it all means. Now, this is the tree of life. This is a depiction perhaps that you've not seen before. This is the Lauria tree. Let me see, is everything there? Okay, boom, boom, boom. This is like the Laurianic tree. We didn't redeem these, right? Just to give you another look. Can you see this, Asha? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, this tree is separated into fours.
4 worlds.
Which are the four worlds. Now, this is one Sephiroth occupies this world. This is the world of Atziluth. 2 Sephiroth occupy the realm of Briah. 6 occupy the realm of Yetzirah, and 1 occupies the realm of Asya. Now, in other systems, there's a tree to each world. See? Now, when you go on your computer and you make a mistake, say you go Google something, how you get back to the page that you was at before? You back step, right? But then if you do a lot of Google searches, you can keep going back, all to wait till you get to the first page you started on, right? Same concept with Kabbalah. Kabbalah allows you and gives you room to breathe, a space, cosmically, where you can go into different interdimensional portals. That's why the African brother who made the internet, because you didn't know that? Bill Gates wasn't the one that made the internet? No. You talk about Paul Allen, not him. Those were just the white guys with bright ideas, with the capital. But it was an African, a Nigerian. Reverend Phil Valentine tells us this. He also tells us that the brother learned Kabbalah as a child. Brother Sehu told me he never studied in college, but got flying A's every time. Why? Because he studied Kabbalah. It gives you a means, it helps you think. The Arabs were geniuses because they remembered the Quran. Their mind was formatted in such a way, the greatest enunciation in the Quran is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What's the first letter in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? In. Ba. In. Same connotation. In. The name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. You cannot, it's totally impossible to translate any of the ancient languages into English. Totally impossible. One of the hardest surahs in the Quran to translate is Ikhlas. Because it speaks specifically about a unity that cannot be described in English words. A union upon a union upon a union. That there is no separation, no separation, no separation.
But isn't it speak up to the kalima, which is La ilaha or Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim?
I don't understand your question.
Ikhlas is speaking about the one.
Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad wa Lam Yakul Lahu Kufuwan Ahad. Where's the Quran?
So if you're saying that it does not have any transliteration and it's in and out, you can't have Allah without Muhammad. La ilaha illallah Muhammad.
Right, well, Muhammad essentially is not even a real personage. There was a Muhammad, but the Muhammad that they're talking about in the Quran, it's not a personage. Muhammad is a state of mind. Because the word itself, Muhammad, equals Kabbalah. It equals 132. And 132 is the numeric equivalency for Kabbalah and the Qalb. The Qalb is the heart. 132. So Muhammad is nothing but, one of my brothers, another wonderful teacher, the brother True Master, said that Muhammad symbolized the seventh chakra. This is why he's the seal of the prophets. He's the seal of the prophets. It's nothing after that. So Muhammad becomes an experience in that sense. Right. So now, it's 4 worlds to each. Another world and then another world directly below that one. Now, interestingly, I'm trying to get it fast with these worlds, so we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. Now, interestingly, look. 1, 2, 3, 4 worlds. Now, this Sephiroth is the Kether of Asya. Now, this Sephiroth, should be right here, is the Malkuth of Yetzirah. Right? Now, interestingly, the name of this Sephiroth, Kabbalistically, is the Ishim, which means the fires. Ishim means the fires, but it equals 9/11. But then when you get to the Kether of Asya, it's the Rashid HaGilgolim. The Rashid equals 9/11. So what they did is they made a vortex, brothers and sisters, a vortex. And they used pain, rituals, fear, in order to open up a cavern in this realm to allow certain potencies to enter into it. So now they're fighting with a whole new technology, which is rather our old technology. They have at their beck and call now different celestial and elemental forces that are attached to the sounds and the numbers that we utilize. So you be saying things in your words, like you could say, and you be evoking certain names of people that never even really existed. Like Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin never existed. And they Kabbalistically infused the concept that he did in our psyche by having him with what they say, a kite with the lightning bolt, and the key. That's big time symbolism. Ain't no such thing as Benjamin Franklin. The Benjamin Franklin they talking about is Benjamin Banneker. And if you ever been to Philly, it's so steeped in symbolisms and mythology, it's ridiculous. I think they got a mojo on our people down there. Because the people down there seem to be killing each other, the men particularly, at a rate that I've never seen. It's like Bed-Stuy, crack war, Bed-Stuy, 89, 85. They still doing it in Philly. But yet, downtown Philadelphia, they got, who's that, William Tell? One of those, William Penn, pointing to the Grand Lodge. Pointing to the Grand Lodge. So much symbolism, so much mind control, so much lies, so much colonizers in our minds painting the picture, pointing us to go here. Don't look over there. Go here. Go here. So now, what they did was they opened up a cavern between this realm, which is Yetzirah, which occupies the 6 sides of space. This is where thinking goes down. In the metal, now they teach you alchemy of the highest order. Kabbalistic alchemy deals with 4 metals. Gold, silver, bronze, and
Copper,
your blood. Because your blood is the 4th alchemical metal. Your blood is hem iron. Your blood is alchemical. You can change your blood with thinking and by utilizing the ruch, the breath. All you got to do is remember. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about memory, and we're going to do a magical, we're going to create a talisman. As you can see, we are graced with the appearance of our ancestor, King Tut here. So visuals are very significant because his image is on the same plane with his name, and his name is his presence. So you ever hear people say, don't say that name in my house, because it's like bringing the person there. So they brought the brother here. He's in Philadelphia right now, and he's at the Philadelphia Museum, to be exact. And the Philadelphia Museum is on top of a natural mound in Philadelphia, a pyramid, in fact. They built the museum on the pyramid. I told you Philadelphia is steeped in history.
Mm-hmm. It's called the Franklin Institute.
The Franklin Institute, named after a fictitious character. Now, the brother, Philip, who's here in attendance, the brother is the one who puts the images on the shirts, and he's been successful in putting these images in the minds of the brothers and sisters that are in the streets, in hood, so to speak. So these are images that they would not normally adorn their bodies with, but now he has made it accessible and fashionable for them to do so. So whenever you come up to 125th Street, or you'd like to order any of these shirts, what's your phone number, Philip? 347 645 6699. And you can get this and a multitude of other shirts that he has available. Very interesting thing, I was looking at my Bible concordance today, and the word Ankh is in Hebrew. The word Ankh is in Hebrew. And it appears in the book of Job 7. Job 7, verse 7. I believe you got my phone number if I made a mistake. Shit. At any rate, the word is spelled Aleph Nun Kaf. And the word means plumb line, to make things plumb. What does plumb mean? Even. Even. So the word Ankh, and we have a beautiful depiction of the Ankh here, it means to make things even. Now there's a brother named, I think it's Amin Ranefer. He wrote The African Origin of Electromagnetism. In the book, the brother demonstrates the Ankh's use to emit electromagnetic rays and to receive them. So we're in a Renaissance period right now. And this Renaissance period is all about us Renaissance means to redo. To redo. So essentially what we're doing is we're going over stuff all over again. And we're becoming more aware of who we are once again. Okay? So now, for our final half of the presentation, in fact, we'll keep the brother up here as long as we can. Now, very important, let's go over the course material right fast, because what I want to do is I want to show you how to challenge the text. Okay? Now, the first page in our course material, marked page 1, has the book of Genesis. However, they transcribed the letters, the words, they did it from left to right, but you read it from right to left. At any rate, I want everyone to pay attention to the first time that you see the term Elohim. Now, at the top of the page, can you see this? Jelani, is it clear? Hold on. Use this big one. Now, at the top of the page, can you see it? Well, okay. And this would be the facsimile of what page 1 would be. But all of those brothers and sisters in TV land who have the DVD, call us to get the course material. And in order for you to get the DVD from a authentic distributor, they should have the course material with it. We will make the course material available to those who will be selling the DVD. If it doesn't have the course material with it, it might be a little difficult for you to continue, for those of you in TV land. So again, my number is 718-506-4518. Now, the first appearance of the word Elohim is right here. Now, when you're confronted with a text that does not reflect the language that you speak, first and foremost, you have to go get a book to find out what the text entails. Now, I found a very significant text in Miscellaneous Libre. Miscellaneous Libre is a bookstore at the Reading Terminal Market, which is in Philadelphia. The Reading Terminal Market, that is the best thing in there. Everything else is food there, and they got a beeswax store that sells real beeswax items, honey, candles, whatever, authentic stuff. Everything else is like garbage. You know what I'm saying? It's food. But the brother sells books. His name is Isaac, older fellow, and I found this book. This book was composed originally by a Moor. His name was Ibn Barun. Arabic works on Hebrew grammar and lexicography. Okay, first published in 1964. They elude from mentioning the period upon which the gentleman was, he existed. But let's look at the few words from the preface. It says, few particulars are known about the Spanish Jew Abu Ibrahim Ishaq ibn Barun. Now, if he's a Jew, why does his name sound like that? This is a question.
Well, he was at the
where he was, because not until recent has the distinction between Sufism and Kabbalism, has it been considered or separated, because they were both terms which were interchangeable. A Sufi was an Islamic Kabbalist, and the Kabbalah took from it, by way of a gentleman named Ibrahim Abulafia, many of its concepts in reference to the transmigration and the use of a Kabbalistic tool of mixing words, which derives from, in my opinion, from the Sefer Yetzirah, when it says that you can build 2 bricks. You can build with 2 letters, 132, what is it? 231 gates. Because if you match each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, it creates 231 combinations. So the Sefer Yetzirah, Yetzirah meaning formation, meaning the realm of Yetzirah, with sound, with the letters in your sound, you can create artifices, experiences. So now, all of this was a Sufi practice, meaning that it was Islamic in origin. Islamic. So what the Moors did was, the Moors were the ones who advanced on all of the work that they were privy to. They took the work to another level, advanced it to its highest degree, before it was stolen by way of Holy Writ in the courts. How they still taking our sovereignty from us now, with everybody got a state ID in their pocket. And you better not leave home without it, because that's how you feel. But you, as a natural being, as a natural person, not a naturalized, as a natural person, the pigs are supposed to see you and know, because they don't represent anything but a state, and a state is a artificial entity created with language, corporate trust.
That's why when you get pulled off, the first thing I ask you is your first and last name.
That's right.
In your mind, you thinking that what's your name, but they trying to get jurisdiction.
They trying to get jurisdiction.
That's all a trap.
That's all a trap. That's right, Nicholas. When they stop you, they're asking you, essentially, they know who you are, because the color of your skin is the indication that you have no jurisdiction over you. But all of us have agreed to allow these fiduciary officers, people who are just out there just to collect debts for corporate entities, we've accepted them as our masters.
But metaphysically, you have no first and last name. That's all legal jargon.
That's right. There's no such thing as a first and last name. But because essentially, metaphysically, your name, this is why we got to stop naming our kids Tanawanesia and all this so crazy shit. You know, we be making up these names, Rodnika Wisha, and all this so crazy stuff. The names have to have intent, have energy, because you be cursing these kids sometimes, naming them crazy stuff. I'm so thankful to have the name that I have, now that I'm under the impression and knowledge that Islam essentially is not Arab. Islam is Moorish. And Islam was created to civilize Arabs, because Arabs had no concept of the feminine principle. Still don't. They had no concept of bathing. Still don't. and they are the masters of duplicity, because they are openly accepting to take the role of the enemy in order to advance the cause of the Western occultists, the beasthood, who blows up buildings, who destroys lives and kills babies and children in the name of advancing their agenda. So now it's all sorcery. It's all the manipulation of your emotions which create the world at large. This is why in the book I wrote, the Kabbalistic and metaphysic interpretation of the war in Iraq, I demonstrate in this book that it's not them fighting the war, it's actually us fighting the war. We're the ones who have accepted it. Even those who get out there and say, no war, they're all a part. Those are agents too. Because the Hegelian dialectic requires for you to create contrast. Whoever rocks one side supports vicariously the opposing opinion. That's why when somebody asks you something about an absurd concept, it's like you just like certain shit you just don't even give air to. You don't even speak on it. You just let it ride. Because it has no existence. This is the reason why the Moors created chess. What is the first move on the chessboard? Brother True Master taught me this. What's the first move on the chessboard? Who can move?
Pawn.
The pawn? The pawn ain't the first one. I done opened up with
Knights.
But who moves first?
White.
Because he has to. Because he is the weaker one. The black piece is the receptor. The name of the game begins when the black piece moves. The black piece defines where we're going. See? That's when you define the game. When the black piece moves, because the science of it is that nothing is real until you accept it. When you accept the reality, that's when you make it real. This is why you cannot give air to the bullshit. Now, very important film about to come out. They use this date in particular for a specific reason. On 2/16, what movie is coming out? Ghost Rider. On 2/16. Told you 2/16 equals what? Fear. They got a part in there. Now, Nicolas Cage, his last name ain't really Cage. His last name is Coppola because he's related to who? Francis Ford Coppola, who in a DVD we got called Hollywood Unmasked, he confesses that he makes films and specifically puts violence and sex in the film. It's him saying it out of his own mouth that he pans every few meters in the shots, skin, to keep you incessantly in the mix. Now, the reason why is because what they manipulate is your back. Your physical back, your back. What rides along the back?
Spine.
The spine, and the spine is your electromagnetic channel to the psyche by way of, to pineal by way of the Kundalini force. So when you hear terms like Jacob, Yaqub, look at the word. Yaqub. Yaqub is fertile, yod, back of the head, back, kof. Then it goes vow, with the vow, which means the mark, which denotes a place, and then beth, in. So it's saying that in your back, Yaqub means the one who snatches on the heel. Heel is another connotation for back. Your heel or your hind part is your back. This is where they're concentrating on. Because in the film, I saw the trailer, Ghost Rider's coming out of a cemetery. He says, feels like my skull is on fire. The skull. The skull. In Hebrew, the skull means, in Hebrew, what is the skull? What's the word for skull? Who got everybody in here got a Bible at home? Where did Jesus die? Golgotha. Golgotha. The root of the word Golgotha is Gulgul, the transmigration. The thing that we all share in here is the same number of bones and the same particular phenotype of how bones should be set. That's the Adam Cadman on astral level of Adam Kadmon, meaning the Eastern man, how the body should conform when consciousness descends and incarnates. Now, the preoccupation, and I'm going to bring it all the way back home, the preoccupation with the skull. I have a skull ring. Skull ring. Why is everybody wearing skulls? Jim Jones, the rapper, he got a skull belt, skull shirt. Young Jeezy, skulls, skulls, skulls,
Even
skulls.
in the stores, you got skull T-shirts. I don't know.
Skull T-shirts. Why?
Recently too.
Why?
Yo, they even got a Skull and Bones T-shirt.
Skull and Bones T-shirt. I saw Jay-Z in the picture in the Rolling Stone between Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Clinton wearing a Skull and Bone T-shirt. Jay-Z, our homeboy from Marcy Project.
Yeah, but he probably did that just for the attention, you know?
Absolutely. However, in the mind of the occultist, see, the Skull and Bones men are ordered to leave a room if someone gets up and says 322. That's how much they venerate the number and venerate their symbolisms. We don't venerate our symbolisms. Unconsciously, we wear them and do not know why we're wearing them, and as a result of not knowing, we don't know where they're taking us. See, those of us who are in the know can rock, because this is a reminder of my oath or my soul's journey in the realm of incarnate being, and where my ancestral energy shall be settled.
Yeah.
So my skull, my bones, my blueprinting, my book, the testament of my experience here in this awful ass world. So those who come from my kith and kind behind me, my bones shall be rested in a particular place. My family owns a funeral home. So my bones is going to be where my people's is at. This is why they speak in the Bible, they talk about the Nesbitt Funeral Home in New Jersey. That's my family's. Now, this is why they talk about in the Bible about that's one of the worst things that you can do is not bury a man's bones with his ancestors. That's why, did you know when you're in federal custody, your family can't have your body? If you're incarcerated? If you die there, your family can't even have your bones. Do you know that the Skull and Bonesmen have Geronimo's bones in the tomb? Some alleged to say that they also have Harriet Tubman. Skull, excuse me, not bones, the skull. Now, why is the skull so significant? Because the skull is the crystal. That is the geometric lattice, which its shape magnetized towards it specific harmonics and energies that fluctuate through your psyche. How does your skull begin to shape? Where's it first shaped?
In the womb.
In the womb. This is why our women have pronounced what? Behinds and hips and waist. The black woman has the most world famous shape.
Right.
Even the skinny sisters got a little badunkadunk. Yeah, a little bubble. Right? Why? Because her pelvis is shaped in such a way to push out a particular phenotypical shape of the skull, which will match us, your psyche and your experience, to a specific mandate of cosmic import. Okay? So this is why the black woman is the top of the line as far as incarnate beings is right now. This is why the white boys is going all out of their way to get to the system. So to have that skull shape, because that is the imprint. That's why Monsters Ball had to get the Academy Award.
Some of the white girls is running after the brothers now.
But, well, they always been doing that since Nat Turner time. But the thing is that, like the brother say, who said, the thing with sisters is that women don't need to do rituals, blood rituals, when they do their magic. They are the magic. They command elemental forces, and they command. That's why a woman scorned. What they say? What's that thing?
Hell have no fury.
Hell have no fury, like a woman scorned.
She got the blood to back it up.
That's right. She has blood to back it up.
So what happened? I mean, with all everything that we have, the woman has, what happened? Why are we in this predicament? Did we kill ourselves here?
Well, this is what happened. This is what happened. And this is a question people often ask. And we're going to use your question to segue into our point and get to creating a talisman. Now, in the Hindu religion, they have what's called, I use religion for lack of better words, systems of spirituality. They have what's called the yugas. And the yugas are extremely, in our case, long periods of time. We unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, are in what's called the Kali Yuga. The brother demonstrated for me, Sehu, at Food for Thought, that the word Kali means vibration. So, also what?
Color.
Also color. So this realm is controlled by color, by the 7 color bands. So the prism is actually a prison. It's what the Reverend Phil Valentine says, that the prism is a prison. You also want to watch all the DVDs that Bobby Hemmett did in reference to the feminine principle, the goddess Tara, right? And how they utilize feminine energy, because war is a feminine energy. War is a feminine energy. On the tree of life, the pillar which defines peacefulness is masculine. What entity on the planet needs to be protected more so than any other? The woman. So therefore, a warfare comes out of this desire to protect her. Okay? What does she have that no other being has? Mitochondrial DNA. She can pass on mutations that you cannot. Mutations on the more subtle level. If your grandmother, great-grandmother had an inclination towards being psychic, it can be passed on into you, but you can't pass that. Your daughter's capacity, the female capacity. This is where the whole concept of the Serpent Queen come from, and David Icke with that garbage talking about George Bush could turn into a reptile is bullshit. The reptilians is us. We are the reptilians. We can, and even sometimes we change shape when we got a certain mindset, right? You could tell when somebody on something on another tip because they look a little different. If we stop eating a certain way for an extended period of time, we can change shape. You can change shape in 10 days according to the book of Daniel by eating pulse and drinking water. What is pulse? Vegetables.
Yep. I've done it. Does this tie into the Holy Grail and the royal bloodline?
Now, the Holy Grail mysteries are bullshit too, because Holy Grail and the Spear of Destiny and all that is mythos, that there's a chain broken in its transmission, and whenever we see Europeans, this is when all the lies come in. Because they didn't lie on purpose, they lied because they didn't understand the concepts. Because the concepts that we're talking about, this is the pineal gland. Your pineal gland, your 6 sides to cognitize a reality is something that the pineal does. The pineal is represented biblically as David. The vestigial human part is David. The imagery is his son, Solomon. This is why David could not build a house for the Lord. A house for the Lord. A house for the Lord. Now, when you write it in Hebrew, they had to build a name for the Lord. When you look in the Hebrew, it says Shem Elohi, not Elohim. It says Shem Yahweh Elohi. Excuse me. Shem Yahweh Elohi. When you add Shem 340 to Yahweh 26 and Elohi 46, it equals 412. 412 equals house. The name is a house. The name is the vehicle. The word is the vehicle of manifestation. Your word is bond means that your word is bonded to create what is called conventionally the Berith. What does Berith mean? When the British man calls himself, I'm from Britain, what is he saying? What is a British? Berith means covenant. Esh means man. He's saying that he's the covenant man. Is he the covenant man? Brit Ayin. Brit Ayin means covenant eye. The eye of the covenant. What is the covenant eye? The pineal eye. Because the pineal eye is the eye that fixes the higher realm to the lower realm. The covenant is the coupling of the higher triad pointing down and the lower triad pointing up. The covenant, the coupling. Okay? So now, the point that we were laboring on in reference to what he said, in reference to what the brother said, as far as the maternal aspect, the Holy Grail mysteries. See, this is what happened. The Merovingians created elaborate mythology saying that they were from that line. Right? That Merovingian line lie is they're saying that and they use the term Moor also. They're biting off all your science. They're biting off all of your science. The Merovingian is the Moors. Merovingian is a French term. The French were consistently taught by our people. Consistently. In fact, they have the most Masonic rites more than anybody on the planet.
They also borrowed from the African nation's name, Meroe.
Meroe. That's right.
Which Queen Kandaka was from.
That's why even in the Masonic degrees, one of the rites is the Memphis Mizraim. That's all Egyptian.
That's right. But Mitzrayim is the Hebrew word for Egypt. And it also means mutz. Mutz is the root which means mound. Now the reason why we're in this rut is because we are not who we are right now. We are the ancestors. See, they know that already. When you be calling on Alegwa, Shango, you calling on yourself. Wake up, wake up. That's you. So your ancestors built you in the future so they can occupy your experience. So you never die. This is their whole science of pharaonic science that they learned in the Vatican. That's why when that awful Pope died, they acted like this was my mouth was crazy sometimes. They act like he was God. Ronald Reagan died. They act like he was God. Do you know what you know what the worst thing Ronald Reagan ever did? He cut the rations for the prisoners in California directly in half in the 1960s when he was the governor.
What's ration?
Your ration. If you got one scoop of rice, you got half a scoop of rice under the Reagan administration.
You know, they set up a mythology off when Ronald died, the king ritual, when you talk about the king dying.
Right.
Ronald, when he died, and then you see a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger go at Ronald Reagan's funeral because he fit the Arnold and
Ronald,
and then he's at his funeral when the sun is setting. So that's all ritual. Right?
That's right. The ritual is his significance shall set within Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's also following his steps because he's a governor of California as well. And they've been setting us up for him. He's going to be the Terminator, and he's terminating niggas daily over there. They got a killing machine, the lethal injection. He's the Terminator now.
Why do you think they killed Tookie?
See, that's right. But the thing is that the whole science of the Terminator was all talking about Kabbalistic science of the lightning bolt and how you incarnate. That you're really not born. You come here by way of a wave band. By way of a wave band. And that wave band is used through light. Okay? Now, to bring it back where you at, in reference to sound, excuse me, sound, right? In reference to, but this goes to show you what we up against. Because the machine that creates the illusion is funneling all of its energies to all of this stuff to keep us blinded continuously keep us blinded. And this is very significant when you take in consideration that our people cannot create or have not been disabled in creating life-giving institutions. Niggas are not sitting around proselytizing on how we gonna make another pyramid. That whole science is dead. That was a science of unification on the highest level, because each person in the society was a brick. And we had cornerstones and we had capstones in our society that will all agree to be a certain part in the building of an artifice. So what happened to all of that? Now the reason why we're degenerating is because in wave theory, there's peaks and there's valleys. And right now, we in the valley. Now if I take one of them handballs, the real, not even a handball, a paddle ball, not even a paddle ball, the little gum balls that your mother gave you 10 cents to go on the machine, and you go in the elevator and hit it, and it hit all the walls. The harder you hit it down, the higher it, what? The higher it go up. So where you think we going? Where you think we going?
To the tippy top of the pyramid.
Stake to the tippy top. That's right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut right to the chase and get right into, I want everybody to come around here. Come around here. We're going to show how to make this altar. And leave space for the camera. Now the reason why I had got this article in particular when we were talking about the back, now it says that study of social interaction starts with a test of trust. Now, what is this test of trust? Where is it located? In the brain, it's located in the back of the head. So Kabbalah, the first letter of Kabbalah is Kaf, and Kaf is the back of the head. So there's a lot going on back there. There's a lot going on back there. That's the emerald pillow. There's a pump, a neurological pump that pumps blood into the brain, pumps electromagnetic energy into the brain and all that.
It also shows the brainstem going into the concave of the back of the head in that glyph too.
That's right. Okay. And that's called the caudate nucleus, an area in the rear part of the brain that is involved in processing rewards. Now,
that's why it looks like a serpent head.
If hell was down, what would we be in?
Heaven.
So do you feel heavenly? Okay, beautiful. If you have an ear, you understand. Now listen. Now we demonstrated that the term zakar, zikar means memory. Now how many beads is on a zikr beads?
101.
99. Now, why 99? How many names of Allah?
99.
99. Because 9 is the twirl. 9 brings itself back. 9 is the number of Osar. Because Osar, no matter how many times you try to kill him, he keeps coming back. Because he's already dead. So that's why the black man is the most maligned person in our community.
Nigga means dead.
Yeah. Because he keeps coming back. You can't kill him. So now, what I intend to do or display for you is the utilization of, see, all of the 3 major religions hide within them the keys for your sanctity, the keys for your freedom. So now, this is a picture of who?
Pregnant woman.
Yes.
Now, what does this elicit? What is this giving off to you? What's the sign? All set. What else? Mother and child. But she's about to give birth to a child.
Soon.
So what does this do? Psychically, what does it do? psychically it tells the psyche that I want to bring something into fruition.
Right.
So you have imagery hoist. When I was in prison, I wanted to know if somebody was telling on me or trying to pull a stunt on me. I had a picture of a brother with no teeth, but he was singing the blues. But he was singing. He was singing. So when I wanted to go to the altar and I wanted to find out what the hell is going on, I asked him, my ancestor, an ancient picture. I got an altar in my room with my grandmother, and then next to it is an African depiction of the Heru. And we use that altar to channel and communicate with my ancestors. Because the ancestors are you, but on the other dimensionality telling you how to navigate your road in this awful ass world. Okay? Now,
so you're you from the beginning to the end.
You're the same Adam. The Adam in the beginning of the Bible is the Adam that they speak about in Corinthians, and the Adam that they speak about in the last book of Revelations. The first word in the Bible and the last word.
You're the Alpha and the Omega.
Now look. Commonly, the color white candle is for what? Orisha.
Obatala.
Obatala? What about Alegua?
No.
No?
Well, that's one of his colors. But
that's one of his colors.
Right.
That's why I chose white. Plus, it's not scary. You know, we got the colonized in our minds saying black is bad, black is death, red is sex, red is lust. You know?
Right.
So I use white. It's safe and it symbolizes pristine, and white don't have nothing to do with race. White is just a color. Now, first thing you do, my mother taught me what you do to a candle to make it yours.
You mark it. Yeah, mark it.
You snip the wick. This is Hafiza's science right here. It's my mother's science. You snip the wick. Now, as you can see, I have an ancestor, the channel, and I have a psychic imagery hoist. This is technologically helping my mind, my psyche, bring down my intent, give birth to my intent, right? Now, I must find inside your packet, you will learn how to transcribe, look in your packet, study it carefully, learn how to match your name with the letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And you transcribe not the letters of your name, the sounds of your name. See, my name is Ahmed in Hebrew. I mean, in English, I can spell it phonetically A-H-K-M-E-D, or I can spell it A-H-M-A-D. Those are only representations of sound. In Hebrew, it's Aleph, Kaf, Mim, Daleth, a tetragrammaton, right? Some of y'all got these elaborate names that you can't hoist down to 4 letters. You want to try to get your name down to 4 letters. Do some fudging if you got to.
I think I got mine to 3.
Right?
Yeah, me too, sure.
3 is good too. Now what you do is, what your intent is, you couple your intent with what you want out of this text called the Bible. Now you find, this is what you got to do. You can't get a Hebrew Bible, an English Bible. Get the Hebrew version. This is an interlinear, Hebrew, Greek, English. This is what you do. You find a term in Psalms, Proverbs, wherever, that speaks about something that you wanted to do, right? You get a piece of parchment paper. Why parchment? Parchment is real paper. Any legal document that's not on a real piece of paper is really not even a real legal document. The Moors taught the white boys how to do that in the United States of America when they wrote their Constitution. You could tell them if they submit you a piece of paper talking about that I got a search warrant on your house, you can look at it and say, this is not even a real piece of paper. I have real paper. This is real paper. This is not even real paper. Get out of here. Hello? Okay, now.
I should have known that 3 years ago.
Now, that's right. Now, you put your candle in place and you draw a circle around your candle. You remove the circle the candle from the circle, and you write your name in Hebrew. Here, I'll write my name in Hebrew. Ak. Okay. Ahmed, right? Now you place your candle in this space, and what we want to do, I'm gonna give you a demonstration to give you a standard or a means by which to do it. You funnel out from the center and you make lines in this fashion, which all swirl, right? What you're doing is you're creating a Gilgolem. See? A swirling, a Gilgolem. And now on each line, when you find the text in there, you get the Hebrew of what you want to do. If you want wisdom, you want riches, you want health, you want prosperity, and you write the Hebrew from the verses. But before you do that, you divide the verses into a number that you can evenly divide them. 100 can be evenly divided in sets of 5 letters. 100 letters can be evenly divided in 5 letters by what? 20 ways. So you would write 20 lines, and on each of the 20 lines, you would put 5 of the letters. Right? Now, what you do is you count all the letters, use your gematria table to count all the letters down to and you count the number of the whole verse, and then you transcribe with the Kabbalistic and Metaphysical Encyclopedia another term which is shorter, which equals what your command is. And with the use of language, memory, meditation, empty stomach, you say that name, that number. Now that name attributes itself to the number, and it equals the verse that you said. And then you can spin, orientate your thinking, and open up caverns, doorways into your waking life. You can walk a hole right through the walls. And stay tuned for part 2. All right?
Beautiful ritual.
Okay? How y'all feel?
Good.
Peace.
Peace.